back in the early days of Fright Club when we used to have a theme song. Remember that back in the day? I think maybe we'd play Blame Canada or something right here. Because that goes along with our topic and our special guest today. But welcome. This is the Fright Club podcast, and she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And we are from MaddWolf.com. Yeah, we're talking about Canadian horror with a special guest today, and we'll get to that. But first, we got to give big thanks because we had a bunch of fun. Last time out, it was Fright Club Live at Gateway Film Center, and we talked about female rage in horror, and we showed a great film, The Other Lamb, and we had maybe the most intelligent audience we've ever had. I mean, great comments and great insight.
Yeah, we did. And I was so glad. It's kind of a slow burn, that movie. And sometimes, I get nervous when those are the ones that we're going to be screening, although it is so beautiful to look at. It's such a great, cinematic film. But people loved it. I was very excited about that.
Yeah.
And I was not surprised that a lot of people had issues with the final list, but I think it's really because female rage is such a huge topic in horror. There are so many movies that hit on that. I mean, honestly, anything with a final girl, you could say, is a movie about female rage. So there were a couple that people thought we left off. Corey, our friend from the future, Corey, he was surprised that I Spit on Your Grave didn't at least get a mention.
Yeah, I can see that because that's some rage, revenge.
Yeah, for sure. Ben, our friend Ben, recommended Cold Hell, which I've never even heard of, let alone see. So that is now on the watch list.
Good one for Ben.
Yeah. And then Richard, who never misses a Fright Club, by the way, he recommended both. He, suggested that Death Proof and Love Lies Bleeding should also have both been on, at least get a mention. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, fun with that. But great time, great crowd at Fright Club Live, and we look forward to doing it again next month. Oh, and we also showed our latest short film, Al Fresco, on the big screen there, the Columbus premiere. With Jason, one of the stars of the film, was in attendance, which was cool. So that was fun to see it. And then just today, we found out that Al Fresco is an official selection for the 14th annual Horror Hotel Film Festival here in Ohio, in Cleveland. So we're pumped about that.
We are excited about that. We're very excited. We love Cleveland.
Yes. And I was really hoping, I mean, obviously we want to get into all the film fests, but I was really hoping for that one because I'm very excited for that. Looking forward to going up there in June. So thanks to everybody there. We'll see you soon. Okay. We're talking our friends, and they are our friends.
That's right. We love Canada. We love Canada.
Yes. North of the border in Canada.
That's right. And we want to introduce the first time on the podcast, Joey from horrorfacts.com. And he is Canadian, and we put this list together, and welcome. Hey, welcome.
Hi.
There he is.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for being a friend of Canada. Yeah. We appreciate you.
So this came about because Horror Facts is one of my very favorite follows on Blue Sky. I have a ton of fun just seeing what you guys post and what the facts are about. And then so we kind of connected over Blue Sky. But tell us a little bit about Horror Facts and about your couple of offshoots.
So yeah, we have horrorfacts.com, which is our main website. It's been going strong now for about 14, 15 years. Justin is the brainchild behind Horror Facts. It's been growing strong. We got a great fan base. You mentioned on Blue Sky. Yeah, we got a huge growing fan base on there. We have Sammy on there now producing some great new articles. So please check us out there. And yeah, we're branching into podcasts now. So we have our new podcast, Knife in the Dark, which I'm hosting with Justin. We also have Murphy Lawless on our show. So I mean, if you want to listen to that too, come check us out. We're a little bit darker on that show. We don't really mind our P's and Q's. We let it all hang out. So if you like listening to that, check out Knife in the Dark.
And what do you cover on Knife in the Dark? What kind of stuff do you talk about?
So we do talk about movies, but also we're getting into more stuff. Like we have an upcoming episode about Peggy the doll. I actually got to see Peggy. So we did a test on it's just a photograph. We actually got a reading on an EMF meter just off a photo of Peggy. So that was kind of freaky. I got some other people coming on talking about their ghost experiences because I'm obsessed with paranormal stuff, and I'm tired of hearing stories about from the 1920s or 1930s or 1960s, right? I want to hear from real people now. I don't want to watch these stupid paranormal shows where people are like, oh, everywhere I go, I see a ghost. No, I want to hear from regular people if they've experienced things. I don't want to hear it from some old tale, like from too many years ago.
All right.
So how often do you produce these episodes?
So right now it's bi-weekly. We hope to do more, but for right now, because with horror facts and everything going on, right now it's just one every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Again, if we can start create more, the goal would be ultimately to make it once a week. But for right now, bi-weekly. So check us out. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Very cool. So we put together a combined list for the best Canadian horror. Now, we had some very strict rules because, so many American films are just shot in Canada. And so we said, well, it's got to be a Canadian filmmaker shot in Canada and ideally set in Canada. A lot of times you never know. I mean, sometimes they just don't say where it's set, but those were the three main rules. And so that definitely, it disqualified a lot of films that people universally consider Canadian horror, like Black Christmas, for example. So don't pick nits. Don't jump on us about where's Cube, because we were very strict with our rules. And I held myself to one David Cronenberg. I could pick the rest of the family as I wanted to, but because clearly my whole top 5 is probably Cronenberg films, but I just picked one, and that it would be probably Ginger Snaps plus Cronenberg would be my whole top 5. But we've got some variety because of these rules. So there you go.
Yeah, because that's what originally when this came up, I thought, wait a minute, haven't we done Canadian horror? But we've only done a Cronenberg list, correct?
Yeah, we've done a Cronenberg list. Yeah. Yep. It was one of our first podcasts. It was like it was in the first couple of months. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
All right. So we will kick it off with our number 5, and that is
this is from just 2 years ago. A model becomes obsessed with a high-profile murder trial in red rooms, and this was so engrossing. I loved as this unfolded. I loved the main performance. Just great. It takes you on those twists and turns, and I thought it was just really one that grabbed me and wouldn't let go.
Yeah. Usually when you have a film that is either a lot about somebody who's going to be sort of typing away at a keyboard, looking at a computer screen, or it's inside of a courtroom, right? Yeah. It can get tedious. And somehow this movie never does. I mean, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. And I think part of it is because you really have to be paying attention.
Yeah.
They don't spoon feed you anything. You just sort of keep figuring more things out. And a great deal of, I think, the success is Juliette Garapé is the lead. Her name is, the character is Kellyanne. And she is, she's unreadable. It's really hard to figure out what her motives are. And so you just kind of pay attention to her actions, and her actions let you know what her skills are, even if her motives don't become clear until the end of the film.
But the fact that she's unreadable is very important to what's going on.
Yeah,
and as it goes along and you start getting into her motivations, and then her relationship with this other
Clementine.
Clementine, the groupie of the trial and of the person who is on trial. You think, at least I did. I made a guess early on about where this is going to go, and it didn't go there at all, which I love.
Yeah.
It's just very, very interesting. And you're right about how many times can you make a computer screen, and the things that she's typing, and she's bidding on things, and she's interacting with this dark web stuff that can get so dry, like a trial. But man, you're just waiting for the next line of type and what's going to happen. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. And I think a lot of the success too is that how very detailed every frame is. Like everything that's inside the frame relates in some way to the story and to the tension that's being built. And I just thought it was an impeccably made film. Filmmaker is Pascal Plante. And it's just I was so surprised by how riveting I found this movie.
Yeah, in fact, if you watch this movie and you don't have a good, really, really deep background in mythology, I mean, I went down this rabbit hole about after watching this about
That's right.
all the references in
Yeah.
her computer screen background and a
Yeah.
painting on the wall. I mean,
Yeah.
there are a ton, and they all factor in to the story, and it's fascinating if you have the time to go down this rabbit hole of all the things that are referenced in this movie. It is meticulous.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Joey, did you see Red Rooms? Do you have thoughts on it?
I've, ne- I've never even heard of this movie that you guys are talking about. So I'm just like, sorry, I'm just like listening to everything you're saying because I've never even heard of this damn movie. Not clear that I look this up.
Yeah.
It's so it's gut wrenching. It's just, because you never know. Am I even on this person's side? Like, I think that's what makes the film. So you find yourself rooting for her, even though you're like, I don't know that I like her, and she might really be a horrible, horrible person. They haven't let us in yet on her motives. Yeah, because of course the court case at the center of the film is just horrifying.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate that they don't make that lurid. They just accept that we're all horrified by what this court case is about without a lot of times. I mean, there are a lot of movies called Red Room or Red Rooms, and the whole movie is set inside these snuff rooms. This doesn't ever really do that. And I appreciated that as well.
Yeah, but it's one like Hope said. I mean, clear your calendar and put the phone away. You got to pay attention.
You have to pay attention.
Yeah, but it will reward you as it goes along because the character is so fascinating. She's a model.
Yeah.
She's got these glamorous modeling gigs. Like, what is she doing? What is
Yeah.
she doing messing with this dark web stuff and these snuff films and everything? You're like, it's very, very curious and it's a mystery, but it's really, really engaging. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And Joey's number 5 is our number 4. So
Ooh,
we
okay.
are going to jump now to Joey's number 4.
So I know you mentioned that you are a massive David Cronenberg fan. Obviously, he is a Canadian treasure. Me, on the other hand, I do not like David Cronenberg. I'm not a big body horror fan at all. So Hope, I'm very sorry about that.
Okay.
It's actually a running joke on our podcast about how much I hate body horror. So I was like, you know what? But I still got to pay the devil's dues. I got to give one to Cronenberg. So let's find one. And mine was Rabbit. Like, obviously, the original. I'm not talking about that piece of crap that came out a couple years ago. I'm talking about like straight up original, directed by David Cronenberg. And I know, yeah, like you said, we had very strict rules. We had to have the full-on Canadian hat trick for this film.
Yep.
So it had to be made in Canada, directed by a Canadian, filmed based in Canada. It had to be the whole 9 yards. So this one, of course, is actually filmed in Montreal, based in Montreal. But for those who haven't seen Rabbit, it's about a young woman who develops a taste for human blood after experimental plastic surgery. And her victims, they turn into bloodthirsty zombies, leading to this big citywide epidemic. I think this is why this one hits me so much is because of what we just went through like not that long ago.
Yeah.
And like with like, COVID and the pandemic. That's why I think this one really hits. Like, it's one I watched years ago, didn't really give it much thought when I watched it. But in recent years, and especially going through that, that's what made me like this film again, because it's this film about a character who is essentially like a typhoid Mary, who just releases this huge disease that in the end kills her. Spoiler, by the way, if you haven't seen the movie, sorry about that.
77.
But at the same time, it is okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Come on, get on it, people already. Come on.
That's right.
And you mentioned it. It is Cronenberg. It just oozes Cronenberg because it is cheesy. It's like this thing comes out of her armpit, and it's like death by the blood-sucking armpit, and you're like, what? Well, like, what the hell is this? This is insane. This is stupid. But at the same time, it's great. This is Canadian filmmaking. This is what makes Canada so good. We're cheesy. We're corny. We come up with really dumb stuff. And I think Rabbit is 100% Canadian. Like, this is, come on. And so I don't know.
So just let me ask you, I'm curious, because you say you don't care for Cronenberg and the body horror. Is that because you don't find it scary, or you find it too squeamish, too awkward to watch all that body horror stuff play out?
I just don't like seeing bodies twisted and morphed in really messed ways. Like, Society broke me.
Okay.
After seeing Society, I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, the film Society. Yeah. That's
Gotcha.
yeah, that's The Shunting. Yeah, that's a good one.
So
I love Rabbit.
this film is very light on the body horror. So Oh, go
we
ahead.
were talking actually when George grabbed the poster for us to show just there. When I was a kid, right? Everybody has that when you were a kid and you went to the video store, what poster, what, what video box.
Yep.
I mean, those of us who are old enough to remember video stores. And it was this poster that got to me when I was a little kid. I was terrified of this poster. And you'd look at it and think, what happened to this lady? Oh my God. And then when you finally watch it, you're like, it's such a funny snap to use as the poster because it's fairly irrelevant to the actual plot of the movie. But from the time I was a little kid, I always wanted to watch this movie because this poster just terrified me. And it's funny because it's the movie that Cronenberg made right after Shivers. And it's essentially the same film. It's basically the same movie where Shivers, it all happens inside this high rise. Whereas for Rabbit, he kind of takes it on the road, but it's this sort of very sexual parasite sort of like alien, slug monster thing that infects people. But it was a really interesting and I would imagine like back in the mid 70s, people were probably thinking, is this all this guy does? Just this one thing? Then we saw Scanners and we knew he did other stuff. But it is funny to me how similar the two movies are.
Yeah, and you're right about the picture on the box. There were a bunch of those I remember from back in the day. I mean, I feel sorry for the kids. They will never have that thrill. Number one, you walk through there and you're scanning the boxes and then you find one. And then there's the moment where you're going to look behind. Is the movie there? Did someone rent it out? Or is it not there and I can't get it? But but yeah, no matter, because there were so many of those movies that had the great picture on the box. A lot of them didn't back it up. Sometimes the picture had nothing to do with the movie, but still,
Subspecies.
yeah, they had to rope you in. They had to rope you in with that look on the box when you're just scanning. So props for that. But you're absolutely right. It's just unseemly. It's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Rabbit definitely does that. Like you're talking about, that scene. It's like a blip. It's like, is this Rose? No. Okay. And then you shut the freezer. You're like, all right, that was it. All right. Okay. I've seen other posters too where they show the woman who's like foaming at the mouth in the subway to try and get you, but like, oh, this is gonna entice you. And I do like about how like they turn into zombies, but they're like really insignificant, unsuccessful rabbit zombies. So it's kind of like the world's worst zombie outbreak of all time. It's great.
Yeah, they're not very imposing, I mean, it's not even just that they're slow moving. They just don't seem to have goals. It's a funny one. It is.
They just foam at the mouth and then die.
Yeah, it is. I think maybe his cheesiest effort. I think that you're probably right.
This is Canadian filmmaking.
Yeah, from our beloved David Cronenberg. And then moving up to our number 4 was your number 5, I think.
Our number 4, from 2008. This is a radio host who interprets the possible outbreak of a deadly virus which infects the small Ontario town he's stationed in Pontypool.
I love this movie. We showed this at Fright Club. It went over really well. Everybody loves Stephen McHattie. And then Joey, you may not know this, but George is a radio station DJ. That's what he does for his day job. So it's always fun if we can work DJs into our podcast. And it's funny. Part of it is because he knows better than anybody how wildly unrealistic movies about radio stations are.
Many of them are, but that's all right.
Yeah.
This is fun and weird. And this is one where, I mean, I remember showing it at Fright Club and the people did love it. But then you have to remember it's got that crazy ass stinger at the end.
Yes, it does.
And you try to figure out what that's about. The whole thing is really, it's interesting how it plays out because it's got that, even though the radio station itself is not really that small, it still begins to get claustrophobic because they're trapped in there, and then they have to go into other rooms to try to stay safe, and what's on the outside, and they're trying to broadcast and learn things, so it gets very claustrophobic, I guess, without being in really tight quarters.
Yeah, I think what I love the most about this movie is such a great example of theater of the mind because you see almost none of what is going on in the movie because they're listening they've got reporters who are out on the outside, and they're listening to what's happening, and it just sounds horrific. But really, you almost never leave the confines of the studio with like the 3 people or sometimes 4 people who are inside the radio station with them, and also just the concept of it, because it's essentially a zombie movie, in the sort of maybe along the lines of like The Crazies, where something is driving people nuts and it's actually words. And it's such a, I mean, it's such a unique idea, but it never falls apart. I mean, it
Right.
makes sense. Like whatever it is they're saying, even though as hard as it is to articulate what they're saying, Tony Burgess is the writer, and he makes it just work all the way through. I mean, it's really, I think, a fascinating movie, especially for something done on so small a scale. How did it make your list, Joey?
Well, for me, it made my list because, again, it's a zombie film. You're right, it is a zombie film in my aspect, or my opinion. I do like the fact that it's not a conventional zombie film where it's like, yeah, words. You get infected by words. And to me, that's such a crazy concept because it's so small and insignificant, and it can be any word. So there's always this terror of you don't know what you're going to say or what you're going to do. And then the only cure is to like not comprehend words. And even says like, how do you not comprehend words? How do you not understand this? So to me, it is very claustrophobic. You're right. And the world gets smaller and smaller to the point of you start to almost feel yourself claustrophobic watching the film. You start to like feel like how they're feeling, and you're paranoid, and you're like, oh, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? And that's what makes this film so effective, is that it brings you into it and you feel like you're trapped in this world with them, and you don't know the rules or the laws. It's not straightforward. I think that's what makes this a very powerful film.
Yeah, and you mentioned theater of the mind, which is really so much of what radio is.
Yeah.
You're painting pictures with words, but also think about in the last 20 years or so, almost 20 years since this movie has come out, the whole topic, the whole theme of weaponizing words and words coming to be used for things that they don't really mean. And it's really become, I mean, it's aged pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, the topic has only grown in stature of how words are twisted and used, and disinformation and everything like that has only become more fascinating, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So if you have not
I think one of the other aspects. Oh,
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think one of the other aspects I like about the film is that you don't actually see what's happening. It's like you're hearing it firsthand along with the actors in the film, and I think that's what's so powerful, because it's like less. This is a great example of less is more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned, I mean, Stephen McHattie is great.
Yes.
And it's he's in almost every frame, I think.
Yeah, just about.
He does a great job with it. But it's a building kind of a mystery that you're involved in, and I think it's fascinating. And then try to make sense of that stinger.
Yeah. I do think one of the things I think we haven't mentioned, though, is the idea of broadcast horror, and you saw it like in Smile too. You see it like in certain elements of horror, where what is the quickest way to get this to everybody, to infect everybody. And of course, if it's language, then you just hit a talk radio station in a small town, and that town is done. So the way that they deliver the stakes in this movie, again, for a very small movie, it's incredible. It's just really well packed together.
It is, and that was one that I think when we showed it went over pretty well.
It did, yeah, yep. So that is Pontypool. If you haven't seen it, you ought to. And now we're going to move up to our number 3 because we have another collision with Joey's number 3. It was with our number 2. So we're going to jump up to our number 3, which is...
Yes, from 2020. An agent works for a secretive organization that uses brain implant technology to inhabit other people's bodies, ultimately driving them to commit assassinations for high-paying clients. We love this Possessor.
Yeah, so this is my cheat because, of course, it's another Cronenberg, but it's a different Cronenberg. It's Brandon.
Didn't we just recommend this to a friend last night? We were sitting there, a friend of mine texted and said, "Hey, do you have any horror movie recommendations?" And then he gave a couple of things other movies that he liked that are like this.
Yeah.
And so we said, "Hey, have you seen Possessor?" And he said, "I have not." So I think he went off to find Possessor. I haven't checked back in to see what he thought. But the thing was, the movies that he said are they like this? They were gut punch movies.
Exactly. They were
And this
movies.
one, oh man, this one has one for you at the end.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Eden Lake, that was the other one. If you want
Yes,
a
Eden
movie
Lake.
that's going to end on a down note, you should watch Eden Lake. I love this movie. I like so Brandon Cronenberg's first movie feature was Antiviral, which we showed at Fright Club, and then Possessor, and the sort of I love Antiviral. I mean, I really am a big fan of it, but the leap from that to Possessor, I thought was fantastic. Like it's such an assured, deeply sci-fi, completely surprising film, Possessor. And then, of course, after that, he made Infinity Pool, which we also very much loved. And I like Possessor because at no point could I ever have guessed what the next scene was going to bring. I had absolutely no idea, but it didn't ever feel like random. I mean, it was a very well conceived, well executed storyline. It was just wildly original. And then I also thought that all the performances were great, especially Andrea Riseborough, who plays the main assassin, so to speak.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Joey, did you bother with the other Cronenberg family members?
No. If I see Cronenberg, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
No,
Sorry,
honestly,
I'm so sorry. I'm like crushing your Canadian hope right now. I'm so sorry. We're not all like that. Some of us love Cronenberg. Not me, though.
I don't think. I mean, I definitely feel like there's body horror involved, but these don't. And I mean, the apple doesn't fall all that far from the tree, I suppose. I mean, Brandon Cronenberg's films definitely have an aesthetic that is very similar to what his father's had, but I don't. They're more sci-fi, I think, than body horror.
Well, there's body horror here.
Yeah, there is.
There definitely is, but it is sci-fi. The contraption, how they get these people into the headspace to commit these assassinations is very sci-fi and very cool. It looks cool how it works out. There's also good performances. Christopher Abbott.
Oh yeah,
Jennifer Jason Leigh. Yeah. Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Is an important, and he has some body horror scenes in this. Yikes. But yeah,
I'm willing to bet Sean Bean dies. I'm willing. That dude can't survive a movie. So that's a spoiler alert right there. He dies.
We do know he can take a beating.
We do know that.
Yeah.
I think I like this one of his this is my favorite of his films. I think I did like the other ones as well, but I thought this one was great, and just that final gut punch, which we're not going to spoil.
We're not.
Man, no.
Yeah, but you're right. I agree with you because I think so too. I think this is my favorite of Brandon Cronenberg's films, and I loved everything about it. And again, like I said before, I loved more than anything how I was constantly surprised by what was going on, what was happening, and so I absolutely didn't see the ending coming. And I thought it was just blistering brilliance, that ending of the movie. So, and I'm not sure everybody would agree with that.
No,
I think it's probably, for the 19 of us who've seen this movie, it's probably a pretty polarizing climax, but I loved it.
Well, we are not people that enjoy pulled punches.
No.
And this one does not pull punches.
No.
So
it lands a lot of them.
Yeah. Let's put it that way. But yeah, it's really solid, and I'm always going to be. I mean, he's on my list already of directors I want to see what he's doing.
Yes.
Clearly, but this one is the high watermark for me right now. Possessor, yeah.
Yep. So now we're going to skip up to one that we did not have on our list and probably should have. So I'm very excited that Joey included Hobo with a Shotgun.
Well, when you think of Canadian horror or even Canadian film, if Hobo with a Shotgun isn't on your list, you're not thinking about enough Canadian films. Because, I mean, come on, for a country, we're famous for Trailer Park Boys. We're famous for Letterkenny. We're famous for just dumb, stupid horror. Hobo with a Shotgun. If you haven't seen the film, so it follows a homeless vigilante who blows away crooked cops, pedophile Santas, and other scumbags with his trusty pump action shotgun, and he's fighting crime one shell at a time. This film is filmed in Nova Scotia. They don't really tell you where it's based, so that's why I was like, "Oh my god, can I please get away with this? Can I please get away with this?" Because I couldn't get away with Wolf Cop because I know it's like based in the States. So I was like, "Oh my god," because I love Wolf Cop. So I was like, "Please let me have a hobo with a shotgun. Please let me have a hobo with a shotgun." Because it's like Rutger Hauer. It's Rutger Hauer with a shotgun. Like, what more do you need? This movie makes no sense. There is a Trailer Park Boy in it, and he just shows up at this town riding the boxcars. He shows up. This town is so broken, so corrupt. And he just, for some reason, wants a lawnmower. And he's like, I'm going to mow lawns, even though I'm homeless, but whatever. And then he decides in the betterment, you know what? I'm going to buy a shotgun and I'm going to just serve justice. And this is just, yeah, it's stupid Canadian. It's great. It's over the top. It's dumb. I love it. This is Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people will remember that this came out of the Grindhouse movie. It was one of the fake trailers.
Yeah.
And I remember going to see Grindhouse opening night, and I loved those fake trailers, and it had me. I'm a hobo with a shotgun. And it was along with Machete. I was like, make this movie now. Make it right now. And so I was so glad, and it's a ton of fun. I agree. It's a ton of fun.
We're still waiting for Werewolf Women of the SS. But
we are. Yes.
We are.
Get on that.
Get on it.
Dr. Fu Manchu.
Right.
Yeah, I want to see that movie. But this was a ton of fun. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, and it was so fun to see Rutger Hauer come back and do something where he's like the lead role. He's the main guy, and he was just so unhinged but sympathetic at the same time. And of course, I mean, he is our hero, so it's okay to also, sympathize with him. And it is nasty. It's a nasty, violent film, but in a good way, almost a trauma way, better than trauma, but it's got that kind of a vibe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I love Hobo with a Shotgun. I think it's just unapologetically wonderful.
Yeah,
this is over the top Canadian cheese, and that's what we're known for.
That and Corey Hart.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. R.I.P. Corey.
It's sort of for me tapped into a similar vein as Machete. I guess you had that cheese factor, but taking it. I mean, and who knows how much of this they had envisioned when they came up with the title and the fake trailer. I mean, I don't know if they had to just develop this all after they were going to make it, but it went to fun places while still making it, violent, like you said.
Yeah.
And something that is true to the Grindhouse nature of the trailer that bore it. So yeah, man. And you're right, Rutger Hauer just gets to chew all the scenery and blow everybody away.
So that is
number 2.
That's your number 2?
That is.
Yeah, it is. And our number 2 is your number 3. This is what got me all confused. So our number 2 is Joey's number 3. And that is a frequent film discussed on the Fright Club podcast.
Yeah, 2 death-obsessed sisters, outcasts in their suburban neighborhood, must deal with the tragic consequences when one of them is bitten by a deadly werewolf. Ginger Snaps, a favorite.
Yeah, we talk about this one a lot. And it's such a great piece of, it's a great piece of female rage. It's a great piece of feminist horror filmmaking, and she the curse, she gets the curse, same as Carrie. And then once a month, of course, she turns into a monster. It's not subtle, but it's really funny. And Mimi Rogers is hysterical in it.
Great.
And it's just, you really love these sisters, no matter how odd and how much they don't love you back. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just everything about this movie. It felt so fresh and unexpected. And it's got incredible staying power. I mean, this movie is like 20 years old now, 25 years old now. That's crazy to me. But I think it's just as relevant and fresh and fun to watch now as it was when it first came out.
Yeah, and it's got some cheesy practical effects, but I liked them.
Oh, yeah.
Love the cheesy practical effects. And I love, you're right, Mimi Rogers, that whole side of it, the whole satirical social commentary bit of it, the wink wink, I thought was just a scream. And at the same time, you've got the sisters and their clicky, popularity contest, because of course, once she gets the curse, she's sexy as all hell, walking down the hallway there and turning every head. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
people are gonna pay.
Yeah. Catherine Isabel, of course, Canadian treasure, Catherine Isabel. And I think when you watch, we love also Jennifer's Body, and Jennifer's Body pulls so much from Ginger Snaps. And in particular that, like, that moment of walking down the hall and knowing that everybody is looking at her. It's a great moment. And also though, Emily Perkins plays a sister, Bridget, who's just great as well, and the complete opposite sort of type of character. And one of the things I love about Ginger Snaps is that it's one of those rare films that spurned two very quick, super fun sequels. I enjoy
Right.
the second one. I love the third one, which is back in time, like in the Old West. Which it can't be the Old West because it's Canada, so I don't know where geographically in Canada it was, but it looks like the Old West of America. And it's just all three of the movies I think are incredibly fun, because I think mainly because the two actors do such a great job of being, sisters who love each other very much, who feel completely dependent on the other to even survive in this world, and so at the same time just want to smack each other all the time. Like they're just always on each other's last nerve, and all of it seems so authentic, which is a great way to ground a wild werewolf adventure. And Joey, I'm sorry, we just went on and on.
Well, I think what makes that's okay. Well, I think this one is good because the fact that, number one, when you think werewolf movies, it's very hard to find werewolf movies like outside of like American Werewolf or like, The Howling. And so this one definitely stands out for me. It makes a top 5 werewolf list, I think, of most people's lists. And the fact that it's Canadian obviously just, warms my heart. And you're right, this film does still stand the test of time. It's a fantastic werewolf film because it's more about the human elements of the werewolf film. It's more about these sisters trying to figure everything out and battling it. And it's like the werewolf only comes in the last like maybe 15, 20 minutes of the movie, because it's less about that and more about how would you deal with this and the impact it would have. And I like how she, like, you see her like slow decline where she does get sexier. She does like become more sex driven, and she slowly infects and destroys everyone around her. Like it's more about the human element. And I think that's what makes this film stand out so much.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a sadness to it. I mean, there is a lot of comedy to it, but there is something really sad also about this movie, which I think gives it layers that helps it remain relevant.
Yeah, and it still has that teenage feeling of everybody's an idiot, especially my parents, rooted in that feeling that everybody can relate to back in the day. And if they're going to find a way out of this, they're going to have to do it themselves because everybody's an idiot.
Yeah. I think it also nails that sort of what it must be like to be sort of goth kids in this just tiny, very homogenous, very not goth high school. It was, I love that they just take pictures of each other pretending to be dead. Like that's our introduction to these sisters. It's so great. It's so perfect for them. Yeah, it's a great movie.
That's totally normal in Canada. We do that all the time. It's
yeah, but that's
totally normal. We do it all the time.
That's a great bit of character development that tells you a lot about these characters in a short amount of time. And
I guess it tells us they're Canadian.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So then,
the neighbor is definitely Canadian because he's walking around wearing hockey skates all the time. I'm like, what's up with that guy? He's totally Canadian.
Well, that leads us, Joey, to your number 1.
Yes, my number 1, My Bloody Valentine. To me, this is the best Canadian film ever made. It was such an underappreciated slasher when it came out. Like it hit during the slasher craze, and for some reason, it just got forgotten. And I think a lot of that is because when it came out, it was just neutered so much at the box office. Like all the gore, all the things that made it such a successful slasher was taken out. And it's only years later that that's now all been like added, and people can see that. And people can see that this is such an amazing Canadian film. Like, I love My Bloody Valentine. It's one of my favorite slashers of all time. And that's also why I wanted to do this list too, because of this film. So obviously I'm referring to the original one. I'm not referring to the remake starring Jensen Ackles. Don't get me wrong. Love Jensen Ackles. Big Supernatural fan. That's also filmed in Canada, by the way. But so if you haven't seen My Bloody Valentine, it's about a decades-old folktale surrounding a deranged murderer killing those who celebrate Valentine's Day. So this turns out to be a true legend when a group defies the killer's orders and people start turning up dead. So this film was filmed in Nova Scotia. It's based in the fictional town of Valentine Bluffs, Canada. Not a real place, by the way. Sorry. But so there's some Canadian right there already saying sorry. But I love this film so much. I love, again, it's the classic slasher film. You don't know who it is, and that twist ending. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it when you first saw the movie. Like, did you like spot that twist? Like, I didn't going in, and that's what I love about the film. And again, it's so gory, it's so graphic. Don't watch the edited version. Watch the real version, because the real version is just absolutely insane. This is Canadian filmmaking at its finest, and it deserves to be on the Slasher Hall of Fame.
Well,
it is a fun one.
This is where I understand your feelings about Cronenberg, because I'm not a slasher fan. Never really got into them, so this is not something that is right up my alley. But I totally get that people do love that. Love what you love, just not my bag.
I like it. I'm a slasher fan. It's not my favorite genre, but I do like slashers, and I do like this one because the setting is different. We're not in a summer camp, or we're not at a high school. It's a very different kind of setting for a slasher film with some very different weapons for a slasher, which I think was fun and allowed for some interesting and different kind of carnage. Right? Because it's not a butcher knife, and it's not what I mean? It was these tools, which was fun. And then the other part that I like about it although so much of it does not take place in the mine, but I am claustrophobic. And so all of the scenes that are in the mines or we're still like about to go in the mine, where you can see it, you know what I mean? Where they're like standing part in, part out with that big wooden. So they just put me immediately on the edge of my seat. Imagine what I'm like watching The Descent, but it's so it adds, for me anyway, to the tension, because I'm like, you know what? Just don't go in. Just don't in any day. Like, curse aside, what are you doing? Don't go in there. And I think that's one of the reasons that I always found the movie so much fun to watch.
Well, I will say, even as a non-slasher fan, I did appreciate the differences that you talked about. The fact that they can go in that mine, and then you have the helmet or whatever that, and different ways, instead of just a mask, different ways to hide the identities, and different tools like you talked about. So, and a different setting. So yeah, I did appreciate that.
And I did, Joey. Also, I also did like the remake. I thought, I mean, it's not. I didn't like it as well as the original, but for that sort of when we had that like 5-year period where they were just dredging up all of the 80s slashers and remaking them, I thought this was one of the best. They stayed true enough to the original. The performances were better than you might expect, and it was still, a fun bloody mess. It's not. If you're going to pick one, definitely watch the original. But I don't have any problem with the remake. I enjoyed it.
Well, I don't mind the remake either. Like, I love Jensen Ackles. I love Supernatural, but for me, yeah, you got to go with the original one. And again, you have to watch the unedited original one. Like, if you watch the edited one, it's so much quicker. So much is taken out. And if you ever get a chance, like, I know it's on Steelbook now. Like, I'm glad it's getting love too. Like, now there's a Steelbook. Now it's like there's actual minor merchandise coming out. Whereas, I mean, anywhere you go, like, so much Michael, Freddie, Jason, anywhere. So I'm glad that the minor's also now getting love, because again, this to me, I just being a Canadian, this film just has such a warm, special place in my heart, because this was Canada's attempt at a slasher film. And we've had a lot of Canadian slasher films, but that don't make your list. Unfortunately, they don't fall under the Canadian hat trick. Like, we have Terror Train, we have Prom Night. We have Black Christmas, like you mentioned. So this film is important to me because it's 100% Canadian. It's based in Canada, directed by a Canadian. It's 100% Canadian. So it has such a special place in my heart because unlike you, I'm sorry, I am a huge slasher fan. Slasher movies, as you can see in the background behind me, are my favorite genre of horror films. So
no,
that's why
I
this one
get
is
it.
important to me.
I get it. I often feel like the odd one out because we have so much going on with horror and horror fans, and everybody's a slasher fan, and I respect that. I do. It's just they don't really speak to me much. Although I remember as a kid liking Terror Train, so I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like Terror Train.
Yeah.
And, there are so many, like The Changeling. There are, you said, Wolf Cop. There are so many movies that are like 2 out of 3, right? Because we made the list so narrow.
Yes.
And it's funny too because I like the film, and we talked about it at the last Fright Club. I like the film American Mary, which is made by Canadians in Canada. And they don't say specifically where it's set, but for some reason they titled it American Mary, because originally it was supposed to be titled Bloody Mary, and there are too many other films called Bloody Mary, so they changed the name to American Mary, which doesn't suit the movie. It doesn't say anything about anything. It's such a bad name, but it also meant that we couldn't put it on this list. So
yeah, that's why it was hard, because I remember I mentioned to you I wanted to put The Changeling, and then when I went back, I seen it's like Seattle. I'm like, shit, I can't put it on the list now because I love The Changeling. And like I say, with Wolf Cop, they don't actually say where Wolf Cop is, but you can see the cop lapel. He has an American flag, and at one point they say State Troopers. So you're like, okay, well, it's clearly America. Even though, again, if you haven't seen it, Wolf Cop is an amazing Canadian film.
It's a fun
even
movie.
What Yoga Hosers. I love Yoga Hosers so much, but obviously, as we know, directed by Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
But if you ever get a chance, I'm going to shout out Yoga Hosers, actually filmed in my home province of Manitoba and based in Manitoba.
Okay.
Wow. And what about Tusk? Because that was, I mean, it's Kevin Smith again, but wasn't that also set and filmed in Canada?
That was also filmed in Manitoba because if you remember, they call him the Manitoba Manatee.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yep.
And so there was supposed to be a third one called Moose Jaws. But that one never came to fruition, unfortunately. But it was supposed to be about like an evil moose set in the town of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. It's basically like a Jaws knockoff, but it unfortunately never came to fruition.
Well, maybe someday, because
someday.
That sounds awesome. So that takes us up to our number 1.
I love Kevin Smith.
And it's because, so anyway, obviously this is the Cronenberg that I landed on.
Yeah, from 83, a programmer at a Toronto TV station that specializes in adult entertainment searches for the producers of a dangerous and bizarre broadcast. Videodrome, long live the new flesh.
That's right. And I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't see it. I've got Revik. I've got a painting on my wall, and I almost went with Scanners. I was very close because Michael Ironsides is in that one, and he's not in Videodrome. And I love when he's in Cronenberg movies. I went back and forth really through all of his very Canadian early, like 6 or 7 films, and then I think that Videodrome is the last one that feels super Canadian, and then after that he started branching off, and he was making, like, he had the big budgets. He made The Fly, and then he made a lot of films that really aren't horror at all, and then of course he went to England and he made some there. And so for me, Videodrome is the last one that's unabashedly a horror film, and that's clearly 100% Canadian. He made it in Canada. Of course, he national treasure, David Cronenberg, and it's at I'm gonna tell a story. The one time for my birthday, it's not over my birthday, but it was my birthday present. We went to the Toronto International Film Festival. And my whole goal was to get to see David Cronenberg. And I swear to God, we went the one year he did not have a movie out and he wasn't there. So we saw a lot of other people, but we did not see Cronenberg. So I love the movie Videodrome. I think it's hilarious and it intentionally so. So I think a lot of times in the earlier in the earlier Cronenberg stuff, you don't know whether he's trying to be funny or whether I think sometimes it's just hard to know with him. But I think that there's a lot of real humor, dark, obviously, humor in this. And of course, also Debbie Harry. That's never a bad thing. And then I also love when they're trying to figure out where this broadcast is coming from. And they're like, oh, it's Pittsburgh, which I also found very funny. I think Pittsburgh is like exactly halfway between Columbus and Toronto. And so, I hate James Woods, obviously, but he's great in this movie. And I love that the story basically, the storytelling, as so many of his films do, it's so like asexual and sexual at the same time. It's so preoccupied with the human body and with technology at the same time.
Yeah.
And then also there's always this conspiracy that is never fully articulated. So at the end of the movie, you still go, what in the hell just happened? I don't know. But I think in all of those elements, they come together the best in this movie, maybe because it is broadcast horror. I don't know. But I just love the way all of those things are woven together specifically in this movie.
Yeah, and I think it makes an interesting point too about media consumption, because if you remember 1983, this is just when MTV and quote unquote new media was starting to explode. I mean, from 83 to 84, it just went this whole new birth of pop culture, thanks to these different types of media and different channels and everything like that. And this is right at the beginning of that. And if you watch it with that in mind, it's interesting to you can't view it in a vacuum, but I think it holds up pretty well as a statement on the dawning of new media and what's happened all these years since.
And what was it? Much Music? Is that the Canadian version of MTV?
Much Music, yeah.
So, Joey, you've not seen this one.
A Videodrome, I've seen parts of it here or there, because it's one of those films I feel like you have to in horror watch it. I've never been able to sit down and watch it completely because, again, Cronenberg, body horror, never been my jam. So, again, I'm so sorry that I don't like Cronenberg. I feel like now it's a slap in the Canadian face for me to say, like, I don't like this Canadian.
That's okay.
So I'm so sorry.
Next you'll be saying you don't like beer.
Or hockey.
Or hockey, that's right.
Well, that's impossible. That's impossible to say if you live in Canada.
So so that wraps us up. That takes us to the end. And our next Fright Club will be a live event. It's going to be May 16th. Usually we are the second Friday of the month. This month in May, we're going to be the third Friday of the month because we're on vacation. And we're going to show the great Jen Wexler treasure, The Ranger. And we're going to talk about punk rock horror films. So we're excited about that. That should be super fun. We'll also show a short film in advance. I'm not going to tell you yet what that is.
I think we'll have Jen's going to check in with a recorded message. Is she not, maybe?
Well, we're working on it, but I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So remind us again, Joey, where we can find you on all your outlets and all your socials.
Well, you can find us on horrorfacts.com. You can also check us out on Knife in the Dark. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So come, please check us out. Again, we talk about movies and stuff like that. We get really deep into movies. Conversations do get pretty heated. So if you like arguments and fights, come check us out on that. We have plenty of that. And I get into real world stuff. I talk to real life people. So again, check us out at Knife in the Dark, wherever you get your podcasts. Also on horrorfacts.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky. And just thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for humoring me. For doing us the Canadian hat trick. I really appreciate it. Showing love to the Great White North. So thank you so much. I 100% appreciate you guys having me here.
Oh, thank you. And of course, you can find us on plenty of outlets. MaddWolf.com is our main website. MaddWolf Columbus on many of the socials. And also Fright Club. Fright Club has our dedicated private group on Facebook. So be sure to join that. And also, Hope Fright Club has its own socials on Blue Sky and on Instagram.
Yep, that is correct.
That's Fright Club Live.
That's Fright Club Live. So just, look us up.
Plenty of ways to keep in touch. and we hope you will. So until next time, Joey, thank you so much. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club podcast. And here's what we always say on 3, 1, 2, 3. Stay frightful, my friends.